Bill 2526, relating to reducing the personal income tax.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bill was advanced to third reading yesterday with the general right to amend. Clerk will please report the First Amendment.
Delegates Rowe and others move to amend the bill on pages 1 through 5 following the enacting clause by striking out the provisions of 1121-4G, 1121-4H, and 1121-4I from the bill and inserting in lieu thereof the following.
Are there objections to having the amendment explained in lieu of having it read? If not, shall recognize the sponsor, the gentleman in 52nd, Delegate Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I do speak, I want to make it very clear. As I understand it under the rules, I have a right to close.
You do.
That the rule that has been put on the floor that we can't speak on a second time on any debate would not apply to the right to close, correct?
You are correct, or the gentleman is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to present this amendment. The idea is pretty simple. We want, the governor's bill is coming out of this place. He mentions it on the floor in the State of the State, and the next day in the evening we get the bill approved by Finance. We're out here on the floor. So it's moving fast. The question is it a fair way to cut taxes? What our plan does is real simple. Whenever you look at it, you'll see that we've kind of eliminated all the categories other than $80,000 in income. Real simple. Under our plan, anybody who makes $80,000 in income or less pays zero tax. Now, get your head around that. Zero tax. You say, well, what's the governor do on it? Half. He cuts it in half for those same people. And we're talking about 72% of West Virginians would pay no tax whatsoever. Well, what kind of numbers are we talking? If you want to write some of these down, I think they're close, but I always warn people I'm dyslexic and I don't do numbers so well. $80,000 will save $4,075 to a family. Let me repeat that. $4,079 will be saved by a family making $80,000. What's the governor do on that? A couple $1,000. That's all, two. Cut it in half. A family that makes 60. Now, these are regular income earners. That's who these folks are. These are the people that you see every day in your life. When you drive through fast food places, whenever you go to the barber, the beautician, when you go to church and you see retired people, these are the people that are going to get a zero tax. More numbers. At $60,000, our plan gives them $2,778. At the governor's plan, he gives them $1,382, half. And you ought to be sitting there going, why half? Why half? What's going on here? Exactly. On $40,000 in income, our plan would save them $1,575. The governor's plan, half again. Do the math. It's not easy for me. But at $40,000, it would be about $735. Half. And the poor folks who make and report $10,000 in income, these are state retirees. We're getting down into the place where state retirees would have no tax, but their tax benefit under our plan is only $300 if they make under $10,000, and it's only $150, some pocket change in the governor's plan. And you say, well, where's the money going? The governor's plan is going to be about 25% of the state budget revenue is going to go away. Who's getting that money? Well, folks, his plan applies and gives tax reductions to folks who are making more than $80,000. And what would that be? Let's just say a person reports $1 million in income. They would pay, under our plan, about $65,000, which is what they're paying now. What's the governor do to that? Cuts it in half, gets it down to about $32,000. That's their tax break. A state retiree making less than $10,000 a year gets $150 from the governor's plan. A millionaire who's reporting $1 million in income will get about $32,000 in reduction. So whenever you hear folks say, now it's fair because it's 50% off to everybody. yeah, 50% off on a $10,000 person is $150. On an $80,000 family, it would be $4,075. But for that $1 million report, they're going to save $32,000. Now, you know, at some point you have to say, am I here, who am I here for? Well, I think under our plan in this amendment that it's pretty clear that we're here for the regular folks of West Virginia. And you'll hear people say, oh, but this discriminates against small business people. Hey, you know, they'll get their $4,000 off the first $80,000 in income like anybody else. And a lot of small businesses are in that range. The governor's only going to give them $2,000. We'll give them $4,000 on our plan. Now, if they're making $1 million in income, and we're going to make them pay the full price that they pay now on taxes of $65,000, I'm not sure that we're really discouraging small business. We certainly don't intend to do that. Under our plan, we encourage startup businesses. We encourage West Virginia young people to stay in West Virginia. We encourage people who are remote workers to come to West Virginia because maybe they're making more than $80,000 a year. I hope they are. I hope everybody does. But that's not the reality in West Virginia. You know, and if you just sort of imagine yourself sitting in church and you look across the congregation, these are the people that you will help. These are the people who will get a 100% zero tax up to $80,000. All those older folks, they're probably going to get the zero tax. Maybe not, but their income based on their pensions probably won't put them over $80,000. So when you think about all the seniors in your district getting a zero tax, I think that's pretty powerful. Very powerful stuff. On the other hand, when you have to explain why you only give them half because you went along with the governor's plan, I think that gets to be difficult, particularly when you're staring at the statistic that somebody who files for $1 million in income gets a $32,000 break, and the seniors that are getting $20,000 only get a break of $350 under the governor's plan. It's not enough. And you say, well, but Larry, on $20,000, you're only going to give them another $350. True, but they get a zero tax. That's going to be the powerfulness. It's not just the numbers, but the fact that there won't be tax on 72% of all West Virginia filers. That's powerful. That says it all, and that's fair. That's why the governor's plan is not fair. It benefits the folks, the more money you make, the bigger the break you get. And that's not right. That doesn't make any sense. What we want to do is to encourage young people to stay in West Virginia. We want to encourage retirees to come to West Virginia. We want to encourage remote workers to come to West Virginia. And we've heard very often that, hey, you know, whenever you have no income tax on 72% of the people, that's going to be a powerful economic driver. Well, it certainly can be. Where will those people spend their money? That extra $4,000 for an $80,000 house. So where will they spend it? Are they going to put it in a stock portfolio and pass it around the room in a board meeting? No, they're going to spend it locally. These are the people who will boost our economy. Now, the $1 million filer, and someone said, Larry, what do you got against rich people? I don't have anything. As a matter of fact, we need them, and they're wonderful. And we have been greatly benefited in the Kanawha Valley of having folks who've donated and been very, very good to us. But I think probably most of them would say, look, I need to pay my fair share. And that's all we're asking, is let them pay their fair share of what they got out of this society. You know, when you're able to make $1 million in income, a whole lot of things clicked for you to get you in that position. Pay your way. Pay it back. Now, I would point out that the economic boom, I hope, will help us. There is in this debate two sides. There are two sides. One is the happy, skippy, barefoot, running through the cornfield part, which is where we get to give tax breaks to people. That's why we're here. That's why we ran for office. We want to help the regular income folks with their increasing utility bills and just to make ends meet with inflation and all those kinds of things. And there's the dark side. The dark side is Halloween ugly. And it is what this tax plan, whether you take ours or the governor's, does to the state budget. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that. They're pretty close in cost. We're talking, remember this number, 25% of state revenues. Poof, gone. So we got to replace those. Now, what you'll hear is that we got all kinds of money because severance taxes on gas, natural gas, and coal are producing like $900 million a year. And if we had that for the next 50 years, we're in good shape. But everybody in this room can remember when coal wasn't at those kinds of prices, when coal and gas together produced $200 and some million instead of $900 and some million. Now, I've been told that, and I don't know this for a fact, but I've been told that every year we have surpluses, without the big severance taxes, we have surpluses of $150 million or something, and that's kind of where we add on programs and do things and that sort of stuff. If that's true, if all we really do when we go back to normal is have $150 million extra to spend, on the governor's plan, how many years is it going to take to catch up? Now, there is something in the bill that House Finance put in. They took $700 million of surplus that we have right now in hand, it's in the bank, into a special fund for the very purpose of having money if we can't make our budget work. And I asked the budget director, and I said, well, do you all just get that money if you need it? No. You all have to come back into session and vote taking money out of that $700 million. Now, what that cushions is our plan is now, right now, next year. Get it on your tax return and this year, and you'll get the benefit this year. And it's been criticized from some folks saying, well, gosh, if there's no lead-in, that's going to be kind of quick. That's what the $700 million is for. It's the first year. I don't know that I've got good numbers on this, but $300 or $400 million just the coming year because of the way people pay their taxes. And then the next year will be the big hit. And you say, well, what's the governor's plan? It's $1.4 billion. That's the Halloween part of this. And I don't know how we're going to do it. You tell me. Drive by your local school and figure out where you're going to be able to take 25% out of their budget. There's another thing that's coming along, and that is about $150 million needed to fund the Hope Scholarship. So we're
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yep.
Gentleman, state the point.
I believe that we're on the amendment stage. The gentleman should be speaking directly to the amendment.
Well, the gentleman is correct where we are. We are on the amendment stage. This is a strike and insert, a comprehensive amendment. So Chair does believe the debate on the amendment is at this point germane, but we are on the amendment. Gentleman is correct. You may proceed. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Yeah, the whole point is you can't take these things in isolation. You know, how much money we got, that includes the 150 or whatever it is that we're going to need to fund the Hope Scholarship. So it's kind of up to us what we're going to do. You know, we can run and skip through the cornfields barefoot and give great big tax breaks. If we're going to do it, the plan over here is very simple. Be fair. Help the people who need the help. Help the people who have paid taxes their entire lives. This is a historic vote, and I agree with anybody who says that. It's a historic vote, but it can be the worst historic vote of our careers if we get it wrong. Now's the chance with this simple amendment to have the right people get the benefit of this tax break. 72% of West Virginia taxpayers pay zero. Now that you can take back to your districts and make your voters very, very happy. But when you have to start explaining why you decided to go with the governor's plan and you cut everything in half, and 4,000 all of a sudden became 2,000, and on lower income people say at 60,000 that 2,700 went down to 1,300, that's what you've got to explain. And to the new members, it's not fun to have to explain your votes. Never fun, because it's difficult. So in this case, you've got a rare opportunity. We all have a rare opportunity to cut income tax dramatically. It just needs to be done fairly. And that's in this amendment, very simple, $80,000 income folks pay no tax, and anybody that makes less pays no tax. A powerful change in the way we do business. Now, we'll have to deal with the ugly Halloween part of it later on, but again, the two plans are not that far off. So I would encourage all the members to vote yes on the amendment. We need to help the people that need to be helped, that 72% of West Virginia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is on the adoption of the amendment just explained by the gentleman from the 52nd District. Is there debate on the amendment? The gentleman from the 97th, Delegate Hardy, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to my good friend from the 52nd Amendment. He's made a great argument over there, but his argument is flawed. It's very flawed. The approach that this House is taking on this bill is a very measured, responsible. The gentleman talked about responsibilities, but he left out a very important word, fiscally responsible. We have a very measured approach. We're approaching this in a 3-year cycle. We know that we have the revenues to cover this. The gentleman's plan would be a 67% hit to the budget at one shot, and that's not sustainable without having tax shifting and in other areas to raise revenue. The way that we have structured this is a very fiscally sound approach. It's a measured approach, and this touches every taxpayer in West Virginia. So if you're a small business owner and you're an LLC or an S-Corp, you get a K-1 with your pass-through income, you will get a tax break. So not only are we cutting taxes on our West Virginia, working West Virginians, but this is also a tax break for small businesses in West Virginia. So with that being said, Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to the gentleman's amendment. Thank you.
The gentleman from the 79th, Delegate Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A lack of favoritism toward one side or another is the definition of fairness. A lack of favoritism toward one side or another. And that's what our tax plan does. It completely eliminates taxes for those who earn $80,000 or less. And it's a tax break on the first $80,000 for people who earn more. That's fair. It impacts every taxpayer in West Virginia, and it helps our small businesses. In my district, it's a pretty diverse district. I've got retirees, I've got school teachers, construction workers who will benefit greatly from our plan. And I also have CEOs and surgeons who work at the hospital and football coaches who make a lot more. And I have no hesitation going to people in my district who earn a high income and talking to them about this fair tax cut that we're proposing today. And you know what? I think most of them would agree with me. Thank you.
Question again is on the amendment. Are there other members who wish to speak to adoption of the amendment? The gentleman in 37th, Dr. Gerhardt's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the sponsor of the amendment yield to a question?
Gentleman does yield for a question.
Thank you, my friend. Did you offer some alternative tax plans in the Finance Committee?
I did.
Neither of them resembled this.
They were very similar, actually, but they were different.
Did those alternative plans tax those individuals that you offered, tax those individuals under $80,000?
I'm trying to remember. It was late. I remember sitting in my chair and having one of the clerks from the Finance Committee put on the front of my desk.
Gentleman raises a point of order. Okay, Jim will state the point.
The question that the gentleman is asking is pertaining to an amendment that was presented in Finance Committee, not the amendment that is presented before us today.
That point of order is correct. Does the gentleman wish to continue to answer the question?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, the gentleman does not yield for
Thank you,
questioning
Mr.
longer.
Speaker. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, the
Is the gentleman
amendment...
now speaking to the bill?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Thank
the
you, Mr.
gentleman's
Speaker.
recognized to speak to the bill.
West
I'm sorry,
Virginia...
the amendment. Chair's wrong. The amendment.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, the amendment offered today, I think, is where we are aspiring to go partly. The idea of the bill, the underlying bill that this amendment seeks to address, puts us on the path to where we are a zero-income state. All taxpayers, Lord willing, and we continue to have success, we can eliminate the personal income tax in the state of West Virginia. The amendment wants to do that partly. However, it fails to respect all West Virginians, particularly those that have worked hard, worked smart, that have put their money at risk to be able to earn an amount of money that is subject to tax. We want to get rid of that. However, it's not something that can be done at the snap of a finger. This takes us a long way there. This has been a long path to get to where this bill is today. We want to be a zero-income tax state for all taxpayers. We want to respect the dignity of all taxpayers by offering less tax, and we want to get it to zero. The way to do that is a little bit at a time. It's not by favoring one group of West Virginians over another. It appears to me that those that pay more tax are going to get more dollars in break because they pay more tax. They contributed more from an economic standpoint to the state of West Virginia than those that paid less tax. And it would appear to me that those that currently pay less tax aspire to be in a higher bracket or in a higher income position, hopefully, by the time that they're there, is at a zero income bracket. Let's treat West Virginians, all West Virginians, with respect and dignity. Let's reduce the tax for everybody. Everybody that participates in the economy in the state of West Virginia should see less tax. Those folks that happen to make more income participate in our economy. They invest in our economy because they have the dollars to do that, and they're absolutely as worthy of a break as anyone else. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman, the 25th, Delegate Hornbeck was recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, today I rise in support of the Democrat income tax plan. And I'm going to tell you why. And first, let me start by saying that I believe that the majority, quite frankly, all West Virginians work hard, work smart for their dollar, not just the 1%. So let's start off there. I believe that in my district of Huntington, West Virginia, that server that's at Jim's, she's working hard to earn her dollar. She works hard. Whether it's Miss April at Carnivore Barbecue in Lincoln County, which I love, small business owner, she works hard. But I also know numbers. And right now, we've got 12, you've got 88. And so in the spirit of compromise, all of us here, 100, I do believe, that we need tax relief for West Virginians. And this is a good time to approach that topic. And I want to thank the governor for digging down in his Democrat ways and bringing this plan to the forefront. But we just think we just need to tweak it just a little bit so that it's supporting all West Virginians and how we go about doing that. And so just to share a couple of numbers with you all, if we're looking at averages, median income of our great state, our citizens, about $28,761 a year. Average household income, $50,884, excuse me. But I also want to look at what is the average of expenditures. about $41,000. And what leads the way, might you ask? Housing, cars, food, and health care. With the exception of health care, the other three items, they're the folks that all of us has been talking about here, all 100 of us, small business owners. But sometimes we misconstrue that and think that everybody's just making a gazillion dollars because you're small business owners. The most of them are making in that range of $60,000 to $80,000. They're your local mom and pops that are struggling to survive. We have a golden opportunity to do the right thing here today. The truth shall reflect that the Democrat income tax plan will help everyone, no matter if you're making that $28,000 or some of my other friends and colleagues that make millions of dollars, and that's okay, because they have worked hard for it, and we appreciate that. And so we want everybody to enjoy in this tax relief plan. But philosophically, we have a contrast here today, okay? And so our plan, the Democrat income tax plan, it's going to support the car owner, the car dealership owner, which I have a lot of those friends in my district, but it's also going to support the mechanic, the salesman, the manager, and that little old lady that we all know that's in there trying to get a car on a fixed income. The other plan will just support the car dealership owner. And I submit to you that mechanic, that car salesman, that manager, that little old lady, what are they going to do? Because we all do research. The people that have the least, they spend the most. So they're going to go back out, they're going to buy that truck from that wealthy car dealership owner and put more money in his pockets. Yeah? They're going to go to Lincoln County and go to Carnivore Barbecue and buy all the ribs they can handle. Yeah, they are. They're going to go to your local retailer. They're going to buy some new shoes for their kids. That's what they're going to do. We're going to help everybody, no matter if you make $1 million or $20,000, but we're going to make the most impact. And the most impact is putting the money in the majority of West Virginians so that they can boost the economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman, 22nd, Delegate Linville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to oppose the gentleman's amendment. My friend from Cabell did just mention a philosophical contrast, and I think it's a stark one. The plan before you, the underlying bill, is one which helps job creators as well as your everyday West Virginian, from minimum wage all the way on up. The difference, unfortunately, in the gentleman's amendment is that your job creators would not be able to hire additional employees. Your LLCs would not be able to have an additional tax break which would allow them to hire additional employees. I must mention that it's hard to earn a wage without an employer. You know, we've worked very hard in this chamber to be very job friendly, to be employer friendly, because employers are who create jobs. And nearly every business starts as a limited liability company. And limited liability companies pay personal income tax on every dime that their business brings in. Every single dime. And so I would submit to the body today that if you want to see more small businesses in the state of West Virginia grow and succeed and prosper, that you would vote down the gentleman's amendment. If instead you would wish to see more large C corporations, largely headquartered out of state, be the only job creators that we can rely on, well, then I guess you would support the gentleman's amendment. Mr. Speaker, I ask that we oppose the amendment.
The gentleman, 76, Delegate Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For about 6 years, actually a lot longer, but specifically with Governor Justice, we've been talking about an income tax reduction for 6 years. We haven't done anything in that period of time because of what seemed like very small differences in opinion. I mean, it's a complex issue, but in reality, what the Democratic plan is trying to do is keep it simple, stupid. We're talking about Zero tax for 72% of the people of West Virginia. And the gentleman from Cabell that just spoke a second ago, from the 22nd, talked about small businesses. And I think there are two important factors to think about here. One is small businesses, and even businesses that individually, if they're an LLC and they're paying personal income tax, they're going to get that $4,000 tax cut. And everybody above that, who makes more than that, who maybe is doing better, they are also going to get that tax cut. But the splash, as the governor has said before, talk about making a splash, is that for people who we're trying to attract, for the workforce that we want to come here, for the people that we want to stay here, they have this great advertisement that you come to West Virginia right now, this year, and you will pay no income tax. And we need that workforce. We have Nucor. We have new investment up in Weirton. We have all of these wonderful opportunities, but we don't have the people to do the work right now. And this could change that. This could change that. This could help us make sure that West Virginians stay, rebuild, and succeed right here, and this could help us bring people back home. And I think that's the number one goal we should have every single day that we are here. And the one other point I wanted to make as far as fiscal responsibility, as far as I understand, this is the same amount of money. And I could be wrong. I could be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong on that. But we're talking about $1.4 billion, okay? But what we're going to do, instead of trying to do a haircut for people over time, is we are going to make a statement, and we're going to do it from the ground up. All right? We're going to do it, and you know what? If the goal at the end of the day is to take care of getting rid of the personal income tax, instead of making it haircut, 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 let's start with the people that need it the most. And then if we can, let's take those tax brackets, let's take that tax from $80,000 to $100,000 to wherever it may need to be. But this is how we can do it reasonably, fiscally responsible right now, as fiscally responsible as the other plan that's on the table today. But because of that, I'd ask you to support this simple, effective, meaningful tax relief plan. Thank you.
Question is still on the amendment. Is there debate on the amendment? Gentleman 54th, Delegate Pushkin's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to briefly address a couple of comments that have bothered me really since I heard them when the majority whip states that people who have contributed most, or insinuated the people who have contributed most to West Virginia are those who earn the most. And I just have I think a lot of us have a real philosophical difference with that. I think nobody can argue that the people who contribute the most are the hard-working West Virginians, the people who make up the middle class, our coal miners, our police officers, our teachers, our first responders, people who get up every day and work for a living. As was once said in here, the people who sign the back of the check when they cash it, not the people who sign the front of the check. Those are the people who really contribute to our society. Our plan, the Democratic plan, is offering you an opportunity to give them not just a tax break, an elimination, a total elimination of their income tax. And my friend from Cabell stated that under our plan that somehow the job creators would stop creating jobs. I would remind the body that the rich got rich under the current tax structure, and they're going to be just fine. What my friend here is offering is a unique opportunity not to cut taxes, to eliminate taxes for working class West Virginians, for nearly 3/4 of our friends and neighbors and constituents, cut their tax, not eliminate their taxes completely. And I suggest we take them up on it. You know, the governor sat just here a week ago today and said, go big or go home. I suggest we go big, give complete tax relief, eliminate the personal income tax for hardworking West Virginians, those making under $80,000 a year.
The question again is on the amendment. Is there further debate on the amendment? If not, Chair will recognize the sponsor of the amendment, the gentleman on 52nd Delegate Row, to close debate on the amendment. The gentleman is recognized.
And I think that has been a pretty good debate.
Mr. Speaker,
Was the gentleman seeking recognition?
Yes, yes.
Chair will recognize the gentleman to close debate again at the appropriate time. Gentleman 96, Delegate Householder is recognized.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand one thing here that's happening. You're about to get the wool pulled over your eyes without you even thinking about it. This is by far not a tax cut. This is actually a tax increase on the middle class. And I'm going to explain to you why if you just look simply at their amendment. Their amendment is saying for income that is over $80,000, the tax rate is 6.5%. Well, keep in mind, we heard from our good friend from the 52nd, by his own admission, he said the median average income in West Virginia, I believe, was $50,884. I believe that's what you said. I believe that's what you said. That was the median income. So with that being said, just think about it. If you have your spouse makes $40,000 a year, which is not a lot of money, I would agree. And if you make $40,000 a year, guess what? You're now going to be in our highest tax bracket. This is a tax increase on 3/4 of West Virginia. It's not a tax cut. So for those reasons, make sure you really understand what's happening here today. I urge you to reject their amendment. Thank you.
Okay, once again, is there discussion from any member before the chair recognizes the sponsor of the amendment to close debate on the amendment? Yes, gentleman, 5th Delegate Fluharty is recognized. Gentleman has not yet spoken. Gentleman is
I have not.
The correct
Surprisingly.
gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Speaker. You know, I would think that after spending so many years in finance committee that math would be a strong suit, but apparently it's not. You know, we had a pretty good debate going on here, and then we just delved right into the politics just now, saying the wool's being pulled over your eyes and, you know, don't believe what you're seeing. It's in black and white. And I think a lot of you are going to have a hard time because you know you want to vote for this. You know it's the right thing to do in West Virginia. You know it's going to help working West Virginians. You know when you walk around your district, the people you see on a daily basis will be affected more so by this amendment than the governor's plan. It's not your plan, it's the governor's plan. I've heard of trickle-down economics, now we have trickle-down government. The governor walks in here, the wealthiest man in West Virginia wants a tax break, and you're going to give it to him a week later. That's the governing we have right now. We have an opportunity to have our plan, the House's plan. The Democratic plan is out here for you. We can make it the entire body's plan. And you know it's the right thing to do. Go back to your constituents and say, you know, I had a chance to give you a 100% tax cut, to pay 0 personal income tax, 0, eliminate it completely. But I thought, I'll just go halfway because the governor said I need to do that. Good luck with that when you speak to your constituents. 72% of all West Virginians make less than $80,000 per year, and we have an opportunity to help them right now. Yet, we're going to play politics with it and say things like wool over our eyes and, you know, the stuff that really ruins and tarnishes what we're supposed to be doing here. This is a great amendment. It helps working West Virginians immediately, puts money back in their pockets immediately. It's the right thing to do. Let's go green. I support the amendment and the Democratic plan. Thank you.
Question again is on the amendment. Debate. Is there a debate from any member on the amendment before the chair recognizes the sponsor to close debate on the amendment? Okay, if not, chair recognizes the gentleman 50 seconds. Chair's apology for recognizing the member prematurely earlier. Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Wow. I think this is the most important vote that will be taken in this session or perhaps in any session in many, many decades. This is an opportunity to do what we've talked about for a long time, and that's to zero out the income tax on people making less than $80,000 a year. We heard in debate that it's a complicated problem. And we heard that we need to wait on the lower income brackets to get their full tax break. They need to wait We need to fund a huge 50% tax cut on the high income brackets before we get around to helping the people, that 72% of West Virginians, with a zero tax cut. Sounds a little bureaucratic, doesn't it? Kind of sit down and wait after we have to find 25% more income elsewhere in the budget in order to just fund it at base level. You think there's going to be any additional tax relief to people under $80,000 in income? It's not going to happen. Wait. Complicated. Hey, you can cut through it. This is about the simplest amendment you can imagine, and it's so easy to explain. If you make less than $80,000 in West Virginia, you pay zero tax, and you pay it now. None, zero, walk away, it's done. The governor's plan gives you half that. Now, it was interesting argument about cars and purchasing cars. Just think with me for a second. Somebody who makes like $79,000 a year, and they're needing a second car. You know, they got $4,000 the first year and $4,000 the second year. That's $8,000 in 2 years in their pocket that they didn't have before. You can get a second car for $8,000. What will families do? Now, families, I understand, are households, and these numbers apply to joint filers. But just think about the utility bills that this group of people, especially in the lower end, are being killed with. There's no sliding income scale on water bills and electric bills that go up every single year. I think it's very important to focus on some of the consequences of what we would do. I'm just dazzled by the fact that we're going to put over $1 billion in our local economies. Now, I'm telling you, if you give the $1 million filer a tax cut of $32,000 every year going forward, that money's going into a stock portfolio, and it's going to be investing in who knows what where. People who make less than $80,000 a year, instead of stock portfolios, they're going to be spending it at trying to buy eggs. I think I saw eggs for $8 for a dozen here recently. You know, we've got inflation factors that have to be considered. This amendment does what needs to be done. It does it now. Well, who's it do it for? Just as you go about your day, regardless of your vote today, look at everybody who's out there doing their jobs and decide, and just do a little check in your mind. You get zero tax cut, tax cut to zero, or, oh, you're probably going to be paying more. Now, please understand something that I don't know has been emphasized. The higher income tax folks will pay the same amount they're paying now. Well, they get a $4,000 break on their first $80,000 in income like everybody else. But we're not raising the rates on higher income folks. We're just not, in our plan, we're just not giving them the big break of $32,000 on $1 million return. Let them wait. Let them figure out why it's complicated. I don't think it is. So who, when you go through your day, you're going to see? You're going to see school teachers and service personnel, bus drivers, barbers, beauticians, most all state employees below cabinet level, fast food workers, restaurant workers, the people who work in the hotels where we stay when we're here, adult and child protective services workers, corrections officers, retirees of all kinds, military, Social Security, and state retirees. For crying out loud, those are the people we're talking about on the 20,000 and less income levels. We're not doing a whole lot for them. We need to still do more. But as you go through this session, think about the people that we want to raise, their bills to raise the income levels for correction officers, for police officers, for state troopers, and all those folks are probably under $80,000 in household income. They might be over. And you say, well, what if they're over, Larry? Well, then they would pay 6.5% on whatever they're over. So let's say that they are over $10,000, that they make $90,000 a year. What's their tax going to be? It's not a zero, sorry. It's only another $650. Remember, we're not raising the tax. It's 6.5 right now, today. That's what people will file for if the bill doesn't pass. 6.5% state tax on incomes. I think they're actually lower at maybe 6,000. I'm not sure about what level that 6.5 comes into play. But we're not raising taxes on higher income people. We're not doing that. Who are we helping? The average household. I don't know the numbers, and I don't think I said a number, but it's certainly below $80,000 as to who's going to be helped. But almost everybody in our lives is going to get a zero tax. Almost everybody. It's amazing. And you say, how do we get to do this? Well, we're not thinking about the ugly Halloween part of it. We'll I guess, deal with that later, because this bill is on a track. It moved fast. I was asked about amendments I made, and you, the new members, you will hear people, you'll hear chairs say, well, why didn't you offer that amendment in committee? Well, I got the bill. I had the bill 10 minutes to write two I call them panic amendments on. One was to eliminate the tax on people making $10,000 or less. I just can't imagine not doing that. And then the other one was to make sure that any tax reduction was cut off at that the 6.5% would continue and would be paid. And then we'd have a cheaper tax cut, and we'd have something we could deal with. But anyway, I did not have the $880,000. Why? Because I thought about it all weekend. I've done nothing since that meeting in finance but think about this bill. And some things came to me, and I thought, this is fair, and it's simple. It's easy. We can explain it. We can walk out of this chamber with pride at what we've done. This is an opportunity that you won't see probably, perhaps, again in your legislative careers. I haven't seen it before. This is it. I will be voting, Mr. Speaker, yay, vote green. I urge the members to vote green and make this happen in West Virginia. Thank you.
Question now is on the adoption of the amendment as explained by the gentleman from the 52nd District. Roll call vote on the amendment is demanded. Demand is sustained. Question now is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, there are 11 ayes, 86 nays, 3 members absent, less than a majority in the affirmative. Chair declares the amendment lost. Are there further amendments? If not, the clerk will read the bill a third time.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2526 relating to reduce